The Rothschilds, the untold story of the world's richest family introduction, the family that owns the world. When we talk about extreme wealth, names like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or the oil-rich Arab monarchs usually come to mind. But behind the headlines and Forbes lists, there exists a family whose wealth and power span centuries, whose influence touches everything from global banking to politics, and whose story often reads more like legend than reality. I'm talking about the Rothschilds, the family that many call the richest dynasty in the world. With a rumored net worth estimated in the trillions and a legacy stretching over 200 years, the Rothschilds are more than just billionaires. They are the architects of modern finance, the power brokers of Europe, and a dynasty that changed the world forever. So today, we're pulling back the curtain on the Rothschild empire, how they built their fortune, where it flows today, and the secrets of the richest family on earth. The birth of a dynasty. The Rothschild story begins in the mid-18th century, in the Frankfurt ghetto of Germany. Mayer Amschel Rothschild, born in 1744, was the son of a modest money changer. Through sheer intelligence and ambition, Mayer transformed his family's fate. He began working in a banking house, mastering finance, and eventually established his own financial services business. But here's the brilliant move. Mayer sent each of his 5 sons, Amschel, Nathan, Jacob, Solomon, and Karl, to the financial capitals of Europe, London, Paris, Vienna, Naples, and Frankfurt. By doing this, he effectively created a pan-European banking network long before globalization was even a concept. Wars, revolutions, and empires came and went, but the Rothschilds always profited. They financed governments, kings, and revolutions. They didn't just play the game of money, they rewrote the rules. The banking empire. By the 19th century, the Rothschilds were at the center of global finance. They helped fund the British during the Napoleonic Wars, financed railroads, invested in mining, and even played a key role in monumental projects like the Suez Canal. Their specialty? Anticipating financial trends before anyone else. They bought stocks when markets crashed and sold when others were still buying. They mastered the art of lending not just to businesses, but to entire nations. Soon, the Rothschild name became synonymous with power. Their banks, spread across Europe, were the beating heart of global capitalism. And unlike most families, they kept their empire tightly controlled through marriages, partnerships, and an almost royal-like structure of succession. It's no exaggeration to say that for much of the 19th century, the Rothschilds were more powerful than most monarchies. Diversification. From gold to oil, unlike other banking families that faded into history, the Rothschilds diversified relentlessly. They expanded into coal, oil, real estate, and even wine. They acquired stakes in companies like Shell Oil and De Beers, ensuring they profited not just from finance, but from the very resources that fueled the Industrial Revolution. They invested in transport networks, communication systems, and energy companies, always ahead of the curve. By the late 19th century, their empire wasn't just about money. It was about infrastructure, power, and influence that stretched across continents. The vast Rothschild fortune. So how much are the Rothschilds really worth? Rumors claim trillions, though exact figures remain hidden behind trusts, foundations, and private banks. Verified reports suggest over 1,800 mansions and estates worldwide, more than 100 private jets, a global real estate empire worth tens of billions, massive reserves across currencies, dollars, euros, yen, a $100 billion global investment fund that quietly operates across New York, London, and Tokyo stock markets. Their portfolio includes stakes in Meta, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Starbucks, Visa, Bank of America, Johnson & Johnson, Berkshire Hathaway, JP Morgan, and more. These are not short-term plays. These are long-term anchors in industries that dominate the global economy. In other words, they don't just play with money. They own the backbone of the world's financial system. Lifestyle of the Rothschilds, of course. Wealth of this magnitude isn't just about investments, it's also about lifestyle. Take Waddesdon Manor in Buckinghamshire, England, a sprawling mansion built in the 19th century, now worth over $250 million. It houses thousands of antiques, rare art pieces, and treasures gifted by royalty, including a gold bracelet from Queen Victoria herself, or the Chateau Mouton Rothschild in France, a 222-acre estate producing some of the world's most expensive wines, with bottles fetching hundreds or even thousands of dollars each. The family also owns super yachts like Planet 9, worth over $100 million, complete with helipads, spas, and private beach clubs. And unlike most billionaires who let yachts sit idle, the Rothschilds rent theirs out for up to $725,000 per week. Their art collection alone is valued at more than $2 billion. featuring masterpieces dating back to the Renaissance. Even Adolf Hitler tried to seize their art during World War II. The Rothschild lifestyle is not just rich, it's aristocratic, historic, and dripping with legacy, power, and politics. But money is only half the Rothschild story. The other half is power. Their financial empire gave them influence over governments, wars, and diplomacy. They financed both sides of wars, brokered peace treaties, and bailed out nations in crisis. Their involvement in projects like the independence of Brazil, the Napoleonic Wars, and the construction of Europe's railways showed their role wasn't just financial, it was political. Some critics claim their power has been exaggerated into conspiracy theories. But one fact is undeniable. The Rothschilds had and still have access to political leaders that few families can match. Philanthropy and legacy. For all their power, the Rothschilds also invested in philanthropy. They built hospitals, libraries, orphanages, and housing for the poor. They funded schools in London, Paris, and across Europe. In Israel, their contributions were instrumental in the country's early economic growth. They introduced new crops, built factories, and financed infrastructure. Today, they continue this legacy, donating art, funding scholarships, and supporting development programs in disadvantaged regions. To date, they've donated more than 60,000 artworks to public museums and institutions. The Rothschilds proved that with great wealth comes not just power, but also responsibility, though on their terms. The modern Rothschilds fast forward to the 20th and 21st centuries. Wars, revolutions, and changing times reduced their dominance compared to their golden age. Some branches of their banks closed, and political upheavals like the Nazi invasion seized parts of their fortune. Yet the family remains extremely wealthy and powerful. Today, institutions like Rothschild & Co continue to oversee billions in assets, mergers, and global deals. Modern heirs like James Rothschild, who married into the Hilton dynasty, or David Rothschild, an environmental activist, show how the family is adapting to new eras. They may not dominate the headlines like Musk or Bezos, but quietly, their influence and fortune remain unmatched. The dynasty that defined wealth. Are the Rothschilds truly the richest family in the world? Estimates vary. Some say trillions, others billions. What's undeniable is this: no other family has shaped global finance, politics, and industry the way the Rothschilds have. For over 200 years, they've controlled not just wealth, but also the levers of power, building an empire that is part history, part legend, and entirely fascinating. And while today's billionaires may race to space or flaunt yachts, the Rothschilds remind us that true power often works quietly, behind the scenes, shaping the very systems the rest of us live in. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the life and legacy of the Rothschilds, don't forget to like this video, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe for more stories about the world's most powerful dynasties.